Coming up today, a marked slowdown in the number of new MERS cases in Korea. Only 4 more patients are confirmed with the virus overnight, bringing the total to 126. Korea's rival parties tussle over the confirmation of Prime Minister nominee Han Da-eun. The main opposition party wants Hwang to explain a number of allegations surrounding him before they cooperate with the confirmation process. Plus, 2 Korean women forced into sexual slavery by Japan during World War II have died. Their passing means only 50 registered survivors remain alive, awaiting an apology from Tokyo. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello, it's noon on Friday the 12th of June. You're tuned into our midday newscast here on Arirang TV. Thanks as always for joining us. I'm Mark Broom. We begin our newscast with the latest developments on the MERS outbreak here in Korea. 4 new cases were confirmed overnight, pushing the tally to 126. For a status report, we connect to our Han Da-eun standing by at the news centre. Dan, give us the details on these new cases.
Mark, 3 of the 4 patients are assumed to have contracted the virus at Samsung Medical Center in Seoul from the 14th patient, also known as a super spreader. Korea's health ministry says the 3 latest victims used the hospital's emergency room between the 27th and the 29th when the 14th patient was hospitalized there. The 4th patient also had contact with the 14th patient, but at a different hospital. Good Morning Hospital in Pyeongtaek, Gyeonggi-do Province to be exact. Now, here's a recap of the latest numbers. As of today, June 12th, Korea has a total of 126 MERS cases, 10 deaths, and some 3,680 in quarantine. It's worth noting quarantine numbers have dropped for the first time. 125 people were released overnight. A total of 1,080 patients are now out of quarantine, while 7 have completely recovered from the disease. Health officials cautiously expect the number of new cases to decrease from this point on, as we're seeing fewer patients from Samsung Medical Center, which has been a hot spot for new cases. Authorities are now doing everything they can to prevent another hospital from becoming a center of MERS transmission. Mark?
Well, some encouraging news there, Dan. And we also hear that the health ministry has announced a list of so-called safe hospitals. What's all that about?
Well, the move comes on the heels of an earlier announcement of the list of hospitals designated as MERS treatment centers across Korea. Citizens were happy to hear MERS patients would be confined to specific hospitals, but at the same time, non-MERS patients didn't know which hospitals were safe to visit. So the health ministry will be releasing a list of 80 hospitals across the country that are MERS-free. That's expected at around 1 p.m. this afternoon. Back to you.
Now, much of the MERS focus is on the patients, but being on the front lines of the battle to contain this virus is a daunting task. And while many are staying away from hospitals altogether, some citizens in the central city of Daejeon came together to show their appreciation for the doctors' and medical workers' hard work. Our Kim Ji-yeon reports.
Goggles, a mask, and a respiratory device. Medical personnel have to wear heavy protective clothing just to interact with the patient. Simply standing straight in all this gear is exhausting. Try wearing it and treating sick patients all day. Plus, you're putting your own health on the line. To show their gratitude to these tireless health workers, a group of people in Daejeon City gathered to cheer them on.
I hope they will gain strength and know that we thank them for their efforts.
I feel appreciated, and I know it's going to really help the people still working hard inside.
Some medical staff have already been affected by the MERS virus. The Seoul Medical Association says a physician at the Samsung Medical Center in southern Seoul, identified as patient 35, is now in critical condition. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
The three-day hearing for Prime Minister nominee Hwang Kyo-an ended on Wednesday, but he's still no closer to being confirmed. The rival parties are at a standstill in their negotiations, but they are going to keep talking over the weekend. Park Ji-won reports.
The ruling Saenuri party wants to complete the rest of the confirmation process as soon as possible so the nominee can take office and fill the void in state affairs. But that means getting the hearing committee's official approval and a vote at the full assembly, and the main opposition isn't on board. The New Politics Alliance for Democracy party believes the nominee is unfit for the post and won't consider his confirmation until requested additional documents have been submitted and examined. Hoping to clear the impasse, the ruling Conservative Party's floor leader Yoo Seung-min said the party will keep pushing the main opposition to give approval at the hearing committee level. But if efforts to persuade the opposition fail, then the Saenuri party will go ahead with the process unilaterally.
The party will observe legal assembly procedures by holding the hearing committee's general meeting unilaterally and approve the nominee.
NPAD leader Moon Jae-in said at the party's Supreme Council meeting on Friday morning, Hwang's failure to submit all the requested documents is enough reason for disqualification because it means the nominee refuses thorough examination. The Liberal Party will reconfirm its position on the matter based on the opinions of all the party's lawmakers. But so far, the party isn't budging.
We think it's not appropriate to approve the Prime Minister nominee without thoroughly scrutinizing the allegation against him.
Due to the discord between the rival parties, Friday's scheduled full assembly was cancelled, allowing discussions to continue over the weekend. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
The National Assembly has again decided to postpone sending the revised parliamentary law to the Cabinet for President Park Geun-hye's approval. The revised law is designed to empower lawmakers to change government ordinances, but President Park strongly opposes the law as the revision could encroach upon the government's executive rights, meaning she might decide to use her veto powers on the current version of the law. The rival parties plan to change some of the wording to ensure it's constitutional, a move suggested by Assembly Speaker Geunhye. The main opposition, New Politics Alliance for Democracy, said they will continue discussing the matter at a general meeting next Monday. Two more Korean victims of Japan's wartime sexual slavery passed away on Thursday night. They died without an apology from the Japanese government for Tokyo's wartime atrocities. The dwindling number of surviving victims has again highlighted the need for the issue to be resolved once and for all. Hwang Sung-hee reports.
The deaths of 91-year-old Kim Dae-sun and 81-year-old Kim Wei-hwan leave only 50 surviving comfort women registered with the South Korean government. More than 200,000 women, mostly Koreans, were forced to serve the Japanese military during Japan's colonial rule of Korea in the early 1900s. All their life, the women have waited for a sincere apology and compensation from the Japanese government, but time is running out. The highly emotive issue of the so-called comfort women is the biggest thorn between Korea and Japan. President Park Geun-hye has refused to hold a summit with Prime Minister Shinzo Abe until he apologizes for Tokyo's wartime atrocities.
We maintain the position that the two countries must hold talks for establishing sustainable trust, not talks for the sake of holding talks.
But the two sides are trying to thaw their frosty relations ahead of the 50th anniversary of the normalization of their diplomatic ties. Seoul's foreign ministry said Thursday that Korea and Japan are reviewing the possibility of a high-level attendance at events to mark the anniversary. For that, Korean Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se is widely expected to visit Tokyo on June 22nd to attend the celebrations there and hold talks with his Japanese counterpart Fumio Kishida. Hwang Sung-hee, Arirang News.
President Park Geun-hye spoke to US President Barack Obama by phone earlier today, explaining why she postponed her official visit. Although the details of the call haven't been released, her office indicated she would discuss staying in Korea to focus on protecting public safety and preventing the further spread of the MERS virus. She also planned to express her wish to reschedule the trip and summit talks with President Obama. This visit was scheduled to begin on Sunday, but the president called it off earlier this week as public anxiety rose over the MERS outbreak. And US President Barack Obama has approved the revised Nuclear Energy Cooperation Pact with South Korea, saying it will promote common defense and security. Following the decision made on Thursday, the two countries will formally sign the deal this month, but the exact details have yet to be set. Originally, they planned to hold a signing ceremony next week during President Park's visit to Washington, but as we just heard, she postponed that trip following the MERS outbreak in Korea. President Park has already approved the agreement, and no legislative approval is necessary here in Korea. Once it is formally signed, US Congress will review the agreement for 90 working days. The pact will take effect if no opposition is raised during the review. Korea's oldest nuclear reactor may be shut down forever after its expiration date in 2017. The Gyeonggi-do, situated in the southern port city of Busan, began its operation in 1978. It was evaluated as safe enough to run longer than its designed lifespan of 30 years, leading to a 10-year extension in 2007. The state-run Korea Hydro Nuclear Power Company wanted a second extension, but experts say the chances are slim, as residents, experts and politicians have raised their opposition to it due to safety concerns. The government is expected to decide on the reactor's fate as early as this Friday. An expert on North Korea says the South Korean government's envisioned reunification plan is nothing more than a pipe dream. He's urging Seoul to consider scaling down its grand plans for a unified Korea. Kim Hyun-bin reports.
A Russian expert on North Korean affairs has labeled South Korea's reunification plans unrealistic. Gregory Toleraya, a senior researcher at Russia's Academy of Sciences, says there's hardly any chance of Seoul's three-step unification plan being realized. South Korea's plan is based on North Korea's denuclearization, inter-Korean reconciliation, and fostering international support. Toleraya says the North Korean regime is less likely to collapse now than it was in the 1990s. And even if it did, the chance of it peacefully disbanding and coming under the wing of South Korea are slim to none. The expert says the current political structure in North Korea shouldn't be seen as a dictatorship, but rather as a monarchy, under which another figurehead will take the reins if the Kim family line falls. Toleraya says Seoul needs to consider geopolitical factors and change its all-around approach to the north, while convincing Washington to do the same. Meanwhile, Russia's ambassador to South Korea, Alexander Timonin, said on Thursday that international pressure would not make the regime abandon its nuclear program. He emphasized the issue should be settled through the swift resumption of the six-party talks that aim to denuclearize North Korea in exchange for economic and political aid. The six-party talks, made up of two Koreas, the U.S., China, Japan, and Russia, have been stalled since late 2008. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News.
The highest Chinese Communist Party official ever to face corruption charges has been sentenced to life behind bars for bribery. 72-year-old former security chief Jo Yoon-kang also received 7 years for abusing power and 4 years for deliberately revealing state secrets. Speaking in court on Thursday and looking visibly different with undyed white hair, Jo said he acknowledged the crimes he committed and the loss that was caused to the party's mission. Now, at the height of his power, Jo controlled China's police forces, spy agencies, court systems and prosecution offices. He is the latest, but by far the most high-profile figure to fall foul of President Xi Jinping's anti-corruption drive. Now, have you ever wanted to walk around inside your favorite computer game or even your own virtual world? Well, those days might not be far off, as US tech firm Oculus has unveiled the consumer version of its Oculus Rift virtual reality headset. During a press event in San Francisco on Thursday, the Facebook-owned company said the headset will be released in the first quarter of 2016, and it will be shipped with an Xbox One controller. No price details have been revealed yet, though. CEO Brendan Irib said the lightweight device comes with a newly developed system which can track the position of the headset with low latency. Oculus is also working on a pair of hand controllers called Oculus Touch through a partnership with another US tech giant, Microsoft. The device will make it possible for users to manipulate objects in virtual worlds using their hands. Well, that's all we have for now. I'm Mark Broom. Have a wonderful weekend, and thank you, as always, for tuning in. We hope to see you at the same time on Monday. Until then, goodbye.